Next on our agenda is building your professional community. Here with us today, we have Eva Reid. I'm not sharing my camera, sorry about that. Eva is an MPA in GISP and a senior GIS analyst in local government in the DC metro area. She has 25 years of experience in GIS, information technology, training, and project management. She also owns a consulting business called Eva Reid Consulting LLC, which offers professional development opportunities to women in technology. Eva is noted for the caliber and creativity of her work as a technical workshop presenter and facilitator in professional, corporate, and government settings. Thank you very much for being with us today. I will turn it over to you.
Well, it is absolutely my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. I want to say a special thank you to Jen Borlick for the invitation, the original invitation. Excuse me. All right, so we're going to dive into building your professional community today. And my whole discussion about this is based around the idea that professional community is not just sort of chit-chatting with colleagues or searching for people on LinkedIn and never connecting with them and then never speaking to them again. I really believe in building authentic communities, keeping those communities going and keeping them alive, particularly now while we're all sort of in this disjointed world, and how we can really benefit from all of this work that we put into our professional community. So professional community is about a lot of things, but for me, it's about building a community of like-minded professionals that I can reach out to and who can reach out to me in turn when we have a question or need support. And it's about making that initial connection and then following up to feed that connection. And when I say feed the connection, I don't literally mean you have to buy your colleagues lunch, but you need to be able to provide benefits to your communities over time, not just at one time, but really keeping the movement going. And if you'd asked me, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, I would have told you that I wasn't really into going to events and I didn't understand why they were important. They were usually too big, they were impersonal. I didn't see the benefit of meeting people and handing out business cards and then never interacting with them again. So I would end up at these meetings, I'd have a stack of business cards at the end of the day, and I might see some of these folks again at another event, but I would have to re-meet them over and over again, and I didn't really get much out of it. And I suspect that none of us did. So I feel like it's really important to make more thoughtful connections and continuously provide useful content to my community members. And so what's happened is that my community has not just, become this, hey, how you doing at a conference, but it's really turned into an opportunity to do other things like help people find jobs and connect organizations with specialized staff. So I look at it like when I need help with a problem, or I have a question about something, if I need support from outside of my organization, I reach out to my professional colleagues, whether they be in my immediate workspace or the larger community. And people reach out to me all the time with similar needs. So we're all supporting each other in our professional communities. So the question is, how do you build your professional community? And I think one of the things that we really need to do, and we need to be more thoughtful about even now, is, how we connect with people. And is this connection a network or is it a community? Well, when we talk about business connections, we usually think of a network, kind of a set of connected nodes where I'm connected to you and you're connected to your peer and your peer is connected to other people. And then when we do networking, we are reaching out to our network to do business, to accomplish some business goal. And we usually hear people say things like, oh, well, I have someone in my network that can help you with that, or I should go to that networking event to meet people. But that often becomes a very one-way street. And the community, the interactions are what creates the community. So I like to think of communities as interactions between people, members of a larger community who will create opportunities and generate ideas and projects and resolve problems and really strengthen the overall belonging, not just sort of connecting people and then moving on, but really strengthening those or that sense of community, I'll say. So I really like a phrase that I read in the Harvard Business Review, I don't know, a few months ago. And it sums up my whole thought process about community really well. Networks connect people, and that's great. But communities really care. It's a deeper connection. It's a deeper experience. So when you're building community, it's a good thing to think about the different types of community that you already have, because we generally use those different types of community to build our professional community. So we have passion community, we have our personal community and our professional community. And guess what? These overlap. So passion community is the community that really lights you up. It's not necessarily connected with work or personal, but it's the things that you love and that get you excited and get you lit up, regardless of what your work experience is. So for me, it's women in technology and community service and helping people to build their communities. So personal community is the more personal connection. So the group of people that we live with and experience outside of work. So friends and family and other non-work people, maybe like me, I'm a kayaker, so I have a kayak community that I love. And so it's really this community of, as I said, friends and family. And then we look at professional community as the community that we exist with when we're at work or in our sort of work persona. And I think it's important to recognize that while things are different right now, most of us are not going into the office, or maybe we're going into the office in some different capacity, shorter times, different days, different cohorts, that kind of thing. We can still look at the office as a way we kind of live our lives. Maybe it's at the office, maybe we're at a conference like we are today, but regardless of where we are in our work professional community, we can find connections. And so we used to think of the office as a physical space where we worked next to each other, but the idea of office is a little different, as I said, and for a lot of us, it's virtual. But I think the same things apply. So my questions are, who do you work with? And again, we might not be in the same physical space, but we're working together. So is there a project at work that intrigues you, and who's working on that project? Did you have a meeting with someone last week and you're thinking about something that they brought up, and think about who showed up to that meeting? Are there people on your last video conference session that you don't know yet, but you're interested in what they're doing and how they do it? My suggestion is to connect with these folks. And so my pro tip for you is to make a list of these people that are in your organization that you can reach out to. It can be people that you know, people that you don't know, but check in with these folks once a week, maybe. The way I like to do it is I have a list and I check in with 4 to 5 different people each week and just say hello, or maybe I have a coffee chat with them for a few minutes, or we set up a longer time. I would really encourage you to do this on a regular basis and kind of build this as part of your daily process or your daily schedule. Communication can be really short. It can be a quick email. It can be a longer, as I said, coffee chat, or maybe an instant message conversation. Or you can get really bold and you can do maybe a 15 to 30 minute coffee chat. Maybe you can do it on video. I would just encourage you to consider that not everyone loves video, and not everyone loves to be on video super early in the morning. I generally reserve that for people that I know really well that I want to check in with. But certainly you do what makes sense for you and your professional community. Just make this a habit and continue to develop the connections within your professional community. So another area, obviously, that we're all familiar with is the conference. So this is another professional community space that is about learning new things and seeing how industry has changed. Many of us stay in our current field and we're looking to see what has changed and what advancements have been made since the last time we attended. And this is true whether it's this conference or another conference. It really doesn't matter. You can apply the same concepts. So at any conference that I attend, I try to make a plan to attend at least one session on something that I am interested in or I don't know about or that's new to me. And I try to make a point to meet at least 2 new people. I was really disappointed today because unfortunately we had a work emergency and I couldn't be at this session for the whole time. So I'm not going to get the same experience that I normally do at a conference session, but I encourage you to just make a plan to meet new folks as you go through this. I also like to remind people that even if you have been to a conference multiple times before and you feel like, what else can I get out of this? It's same old, same old. I really feel that you can get information out of a conference that you've attended. Even you can get new things. So you might learn something new. You might learn something you might see something that you already knew that you realize you might want to share with someone else that's in your professional community that wasn't relevant to them before. I feel that experiencing new things, meeting new people, making those connections really widens your community. It strengthens your community and expands your reach. It's harder at a virtual conference for sure, but it doesn't mean that it can't happen. So one thing that I like to do is connect with presenters. So if you go to a session that you liked and you felt like the presenter had something to say that either really spoke to you or both literally and figuratively, send them an email or connect with them on LinkedIn. I personally love to hear from people after a conference or even in the middle of the conference after my session. If you have something you want to share personally or you have an article that is relevant to what I was talking about, I'd love to hear what you have to say. Sometimes it's challenging because, we're sort of like chatting via the chat box or what have you. So it's nice to kind of make that connection afterwards and in sort of a different venue. So hit me up on LinkedIn. I encourage you to do so. My request to you is when you do contact me on LinkedIn, that you let me know how I know you. And, for example, I may not know you immediately, but you saw my session at the Wisconsin Land Information Association meeting, and you'd like to connect or you'd like to share something with me. Please do this. I encourage you. Just don't pitch to me. I can't tell you the number of times that I've got someone who wants to connect with me on LinkedIn and they say, oh, hey, I saw you at this thing and I wanted to connect. And then literally their next statement to me is, I want to offer you this business opportunity, whatever it might be. And that really turns me off. In fact, I've unfriended or unconnected with people on LinkedIn when I realized that all they really wanted to do was try to get me to buy something. I'm not in contracting and procurement. I'm not looking for anything other than to develop my community and to have a relationship with the person that's connecting with me. So another pro tip, if you are using LinkedIn, again, I'm a big fan of LinkedIn and I use it a lot. I communicate a lot via LinkedIn. Use the web version of LinkedIn to connect with someone, because that will give you the easy opportunity to include a personalized note in your connection request, which again goes to my other point earlier. Don't send generic requests to people on LinkedIn. Tell them how you know them, why it would be relevant for them to connect with you, because this is about creating a two-way situation. It's not just, hey, I want to, connect with you because I think you might be able to help me get a job. How can you help me? How can I help you? It's got to be a two-way thing. And also, don't make me do a lot of work to figure out how I know you. Because chances are, if I have to go and search for your name and figure out where I met you, I'm probably just going to leave it in my inbox and I may even ignore it. So make sure that you reference the event where we met and give me some reason that we should connect beyond just, hey, this would be a great idea. I also encourage people to reach out to not just presenters, other attendees. Please connect with them if you were in the same session. If you're in this session and you see somebody that you recognize their name and you think that they might be interesting to connect with, say, hey, I was in Eva Reid's session on building community. I would really love to connect with you. I would love to talk to you about XYZ thing. Make those connections. You can even connect with vendors, even if you're not planning to purchase anything. Again, I'm not in procurement, but I meet vendors all the time. I have become really good friends with some of the vendors that I've met. I don't immediately have an opportunity for them, but I often know where the opportunities exist, and I would absolutely share that with them. I'm not saying to sort of pawn off an overeager vendor on your colleagues, but see if you can make a connection between a vendor and someone that that's looking for their services, and certainly ask both parties before you do make that connection. That's also really important. So you can absolutely connect your passion and personal communities to your work. I think this is really important. The passion and personal communities really help you to develop that professional networks. If you think about it, how many times have you talked to a colleague in your professional community about something that you do outside of work? You probably did that a lot before COVID-19. And so why don't you make the extra effort now and do that weekly follow-up like I talked about before? You can still do a lot of the same community building work that you did in the before times that you're doing now, and that you can continue to do into the time when we all go back to whatever the new normal is. Some of the people that I rely on as trusted contacts in my passion and personal networks are people that have become trusted contacts in my professional career. And these are people that I have ongoing relationships because we do have similar interests outside of work. So I host monthly professional development events for women in technology and women in GIS. I also run events for everyone in GIS and technology. And I would certainly encourage you, I have some events coming up next week. I will share my contact information with you at the end of this. And I will be happy to connect you with any of the events that I'm doing. Personal community can be a little tricky when it comes to developing your professional network. I think you should definitely consider how you can make your personal community work for you. But I want you to consider that there are some personal relationships that can get tricky. And if you have any question about whether a connection might be complicated or might have some negative impacts, I would just say, let that connection go in terms of trying to use that in your professional development world. I would absolutely stay away from any fraught or tricky personal dynamics, family dynamics, what have you. As I said earlier in the presentation, the continuous effort that you put into your connections and into your community will really benefit you by making your daily work life better, but it will also make your career richer and just more impactful for everyone involved. You build your community by connecting and interacting, and you build your community by offering skills. Do you have great resume writing skills? Do you enjoy kayaking? I would love to talk to you. You continuously feed your communities by nurturing them and attending events, and whether that's personal or professional events, it really doesn't matter. And ultimately, you will benefit from all of this work with more career options, access to support, and becoming a leader in your field. I think that's, maybe the ultimate piece of all of this is that developing these communities, and particularly your professional community, will really help you to become a leader. So I know that was a lot, all in a fairly short amount of time, but I really appreciate your time and your interest in this topic and interest in developing your professional community. I would love to connect with you and help you to build your community. And if you have questions, I'm happy to answer a few of them now. I think we have a couple of minutes. We have maybe 4 minutes, I think it looks like. And you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm, again, happy to chat with you. I often do sort of follow-up calls with people via Zoom. We get together for 15 minutes or so and have a quick chat. But also, I'd love you to join my social hours next week. I have one for women in GIS on Wednesday morning, and then I have an event on Thursday evening that is open to everybody. So join me for one of those social hours. You can go to my website and go to the events section to get connected with me. I have a newsletter that I put out once a month, and I'm due to do that soon, so I really need to get on that. But happy community building. And again, I'll be here for a couple minutes if you want to ask me any questions. Otherwise, I hope to see you around LinkedIn or some other venue.
Just looking at the chat, it looks like people really liked the idea of building that internal network and making regular connections weekly and really building that into our course schedule. There were several comments about that.
Yeah, I was seeing some of those. That's great. I would absolutely. I can't tell you how beneficial it's been for me. So I just encourage people to do it. Yeah, any opportunities you have, meetup groups are great. Slack, absolutely. The Slack workspaces are great for connection building as well. Absolutely. I'm gonna certainly check in with Peter Strand about kayaking. That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, it was great to be able to do this. I really appreciate the opportunity. So thank you.
Eva, this is Jennifer. I just wanted to pop in and say thank you so much for doing this. It's been a pleasure getting to know you on LinkedIn and following along on what you're doing.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. And thanks again for the invitation. And it's just been such a great opportunity. I mean, just our connection on LinkedIn and through some of the other things that we're doing has been great. So thank you. All right. Well, I will hand it back, and thanks so much.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you for coming and joining us and presenting.